So Adonis is supposedly this godlike man, but there's a problem with this idea. Here's why I think Adonis is a lie. So who is Adonis? Adonis and Jeffrey are the two characters made up by the YouTuber and entrepreneur Hamza. They basically represent two types of people. Jeffrey is the modern man, or more like dude, who just sits at home, jerks off, plays video games all day, and he's being creepy to girls, and he smokes weed and drinks alcohol, and he does all these things that you don't want to do. He's the guy that's not on self-improvement. Adonis represents the high-value man that we aspire to be. The perfect man who is ridiculously buff, attracts all the ladies, and is the tribe leader. And if you watch my videos, these two concepts may sound familiar. And that's because I'm often making videos about how to go from the guy that does nothing with his life to being the guy you want to be. Going from Jeffrey to Adonis. That's what self-improvement is. I just don't have characters for it. But as you may know, I'm a stoic. And one of the things that's rare with stoicism that I agree with is that there is no sage. There's no Jesus. There's no Buddha. There's no, this guy was perfect, so you should become perfect like him. And so, there is no Adonis. That's the flaw with the idea of Adonis. He's the perfect man. And I'll admit, there's a positive side of aiming to be the perfect man. Because, you know, aim for the stars and you might reach the moon. Or at least a skyscraper, which is much taller than the average buildings around it. And that's a very good thing. Because people tend to become similar to, but not fully as great as the person that they want to be like. Which is also why you should build your own image of what you want to be like. So yes, there's a point in aiming to be like Adonis. But it also has a downside. It gives you the illusion that you can finally become that guy. That guy that has all the aspects of his life figured out. And I've mentioned this before, but I'll say it again. When you think you have figured things out, is when you have failed. Because that's when your ego has decided that you're good enough, so that it can finally be satisfied and proud. And when you're good enough and your ego is satisfied, you stop learning. You stop growing. Because you think there's no more room for growth. And that's dangerous. I think it was Tanner Campbell, who hosts Practical Stoicism, that said in an episode something about how perfection is a point, while imperfection is a spectrum. I remember listening to that episode last summer and it stuck with me ever since. It makes a lot of sense. And Adonis is that point, which is not really achievable because we're all on that spectrum. It's just a spectrum of imperfection, and on one side of it there's a little point that says perfection. And we're always going to be on this spectrum. We should just aim to be as little imperfect as possible and as far up here as we can. Now, I do also want to mention that there's a chance that Hamza means that Adonis is perfect because he is always working on himself and doesn't consider himself to be perfect. Which is, according to me as well, the ideal place to be. Always knowing you can never reach that point, but always working towards it. But still, the idea of Adonis makes you kind of believe that you can get to a point where you have it all figured out. And that's a point that I strongly believe that we should avoid. So that's what I have for you today. Make sure you go do something that makes you less imperfect and earn your sleep. And by the way, subscribe to my channel. It really helps me out. Please and thank you.